like a cow or a Dalmatian?
I am the Spot.
Welcome into Box Office Quarterbacks. Very special edition of our show. Very special guest. Ahmed Spider-Man, a member of the Spider Society, is here. Hello, sir.
Welcome in, everybody. You like my Snuggie?
That's not a Snuggie. That's his real superhero physique right there. So
right.
That's what we got.
Yeah.
Oh, working out hard. Got that summer bod coming in, Ahmed.
I like that.
Scratchy agrees.
Yeah,
over there.
It accentuates my crotch more than it should, too.
Yes. Well, by our intro, you know exactly what movie we are talking about. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, long anticipated, 5-year wait since the first movie, and god damn did I love this movie, Ahmed. Holy crap. This is not only one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen, but one of the best superhero stories I've ever seen, possibly my favorite on screen.
1,000%. You know, when we did our Super Mario Brothers episode, I think we both agreed that this might be that was going to be the perfect animated movie of the year. And now I'm kind of like thinking maybe I'm a liar, because this movie, animation wise, picture wise, everything. I mean, are we going full spoiler mode?
We are going full spoilers.
Gerald,
Spoilers.
You can't watch this movie, the rest of this episode, until you watch the movie. And for those of you who haven't watched the movie, turn this off and then come back to us.
Yes. Well, we're going into it because there's a lot to talk about. For one, I want to talk about the visual styles of this movie. That's what really was so jaw-dropping to me, where the first movie felt like you were watching a comic book come to life. This felt like an immersive painting or something come to life. Like I went to, me and my wife, to the Van Gogh immersive experience when that came to town like last year, and it really reminded me of that, just how like in Gwen's world, like the paint dripped down from the screen and then the moods changed like according to like what was going on, and then the colors and everything. Miles's world was just so beautiful to look at. And god, when Gwen and Miles are on that bridge upside down and they're overlooking New York City, that is one of the most beautiful shots I've seen in any movie, animation or live action.
Yeah, I mean, like, what I also liked about it was it kept you on your toes in that no sequence and animation was the same. Even the different characters had their own different style. For example, Hobie, who was played by Daniel Kaluuya, I would later find out, his whole punk rocker look, and then whenever he finally takes off his mask, it's a completely different style. But he manages to kind of bring you into his own world, and every other Spider-Man brings you into their own world, their own different animation style, their own different look and sound. It's hard to pick a favorite scene. It's hard to pick a favorite variant of Spider-Man, if you will. It was hard to pick I think I had a flaw with the movie, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, for me, like I would say Peter B. Parker is still my favorite Spider-Man, and seeing him here again with his kid, Mayday Parker, I thought was really cute, and him just wearing the bathrobe the entire time I thought was hilarious. But, you know, getting into the story of this movie, it starts with Gwen and bookends with Gwen as well, where we see her backstory and how the Peter of her world died and how she became Spider-Woman. And then you cut to Miles, who is kind of the center of this whole thing once you learn that the spider that bit him in his world came from Earth 42, and it was never supposed to be there. And that's what's causing these huge breaks in the Spider-Verse, and that's why Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, brings all these spider people together to, save the universe. And I really loved this story, and I loved the villain that they picked, which is Spot, who is a D-list Spider-Man villain in the comic. Jason Schwartzman to play him, and they actually made him a very scary addition to this universe as well.
Yeah, and that was a big twist to find out that he's not supposed to exist. In that Miles Morales is not supposed to exist, and I think a lot of people would kind of argue that sentiment that he does exist or he should exist because it's the whole who is Spider-Man? Peter Parker, obviously. So who the hell is this Miles Morales character? Blah, blah, blah. You got some of those traditionalists, we'll call them, that might find fault with, oh, this is how the narrative always was. It was always Peter Parker and Uncle Ben. And you've got Miles Morales who's trying to change that narrative. And you got Miguel O'Hara's like, no, this is just how it all goes. And I loved that, it kind of plays into that mentality of, and then I looked at my uncle and let me guess, he died.
Yeah. That was hilarious when you see that Spider-Man in therapy. The whole Spider Society was just so cool to see because there's no way you can catch every single Easter egg in there. Like they had the PS5 Insomniac Spider-Man in there. You had a T-Rex Spider-Man, Spider-Cat, which I'm sure is Scratchy's favorite over there. And then you also have all these different villains that show up. Donald Glover shows up in live action as the Prowler, which I'm so happy this movie wasn't spoiled for me going in because holy shit, I lost my mind when Donald Glover popped up.
Because technically he was supposed to be Prowler in the Spider-Man Homecoming, but he's not in costume or anything like that. But it was like a little Easter egg when he said, "I've got a nephew." You know what I mean? And he was also initially supposed to be considered to play Spider-Man too at one point. That never happened.
He was the basis for Miles Morales, actually. And he was actually the first person to voice Miles in animation as well. So there's deep roots to that character with Donald Glover, and I really hope that he does at least play the Prowler in live action again, for sure.
For sure. I would like to see Donald Glover, in more things, not just Atlanta, because he's great. But this is not about Donald Glover, damn it.
Yes.
It's about Spider-Man, so I need to stop talking about him.
Yeah. But Ahmed, there are so many parts I loved in this. I really do love every scene between Miles and his mom, Rio. Rio had a much bigger role in this movie than she did in the first. And there's the scene on the rooftop during Jeff's party where he's getting promoted to captain. And that whole conversation was like, you're always going to be my little boy. And I just want you to protect that little boy, whatever you do and however you grow up. That was probably my favorite scene in the movie, just by how emotional it was. What about you? What stood out to you?
That, I never considered that scene, but now that you've brought it up, it makes a lot of sense because it's at what point does Peter Parker become Spider-Man? And it's this, and so with Miles, it's like hey, don't forget who you are. Because when Uncle Ben dies, that's when it's like, fuck everybody. I'm here to get revenge. I'm here to, blah, blah, blah. As much as you want to say I'm the friendly neighborhood, there is that sort of, I hate to, do this quote, but you start saying, oh, I forgot the part where that's my problem.
Yeah. Tobey Maguire.
But it's true. But the scene that stood out to me the most was, and I guess this is, is this like favorite scenes? I'm guessing
This is favorite scenes.
Good, because I didn't want to spoil this then. But for me, the scene that stood out the most was the chase where it starts out with them all just saying, "We have to stop you," and him realizing that, oh, this has become an ambush now, and he just makes a dash for it. Everybody is going after him, like John Wick. The the
Staircase, John Wick Chapter
staircase,
4. Yeah.
all happening. And he managed to get through all of them, but each different person. You get to see every little Spider-Man. You see the Spider-Man on the horse. You see Andy Samberg as a Spider-Man.
God,
I've got,
I loved that Spider-Man, the Ben
I've got
Riley
you in my,
Spider-Man.
I've got you in my muscular grip. Oh, there he goes. Never mind.
I'm just thinking about all the trauma in my life, or whatever he said. Man, uh, I also did like Spider-Man India and that whole sequence, because that introduces you to canon events in this universe where these events need to happen in order for the Spider-Verse to stay intact. And then Miles saves the police captain in Spider-Man India's universe and kind of messes things up from there. But Spider-Man India himself was hilarious, where he's like, I've been Spider-Man for 6 months and it's pretty easy. And I don't want to get too buff, so I skip my morning workout or something. So that was hilarious.
Can I also just say, as a South Asian man, I was very happy to see this little world. I didn't know there was such a thing as an Indian Spider-Man, and seeing that, just my inner child just was like so happy to see that, to see myself and hear myself in that. It was beautiful, because it wasn't just like a little thing. It was like a very pivotal moment. That was such a pivotal scene. You
Yeah.
couldn't, like, if they deleted that scene, if they didn't have that scene or that character, the entire movie wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, he looks so cool too. Like, I think he has the best costume in the movie. And just that's the great thing about this franchise, is there's a lot of representation here. Like, you have Miles, who's half black, half Latino, and you have Miguel O'Hara, a Hispanic Spider-Man. You have a lot of different representation here, and I really do love that about these movies. So, just kind of getting back into it. Uh, there's so many really great characters here. It's going to be really hard to rank. I do love Peter B. Parker, but I think Miles was so strong in this movie, especially when it comes to the stuff with his dad and the conundrum he has, where it's like, I either save my dad or I let the universe kind of go to shit. So his dilemma at the end of the movie, leading into that cliffhanger, I thought was fantastic. That's why he's number one for me. Gwen number 2, Peter B. Parker number 3, Miguel O'Hara I'll do number 4, and number 5 for me, I'm going to do Ben Riley, played by Andy Samberg, because I thought he was just hilarious.
Well, okay, so we've got slightly different lists or different rankings. Miguel O'Hara, just because number one, just because I love Oscar Isaac. And can we talk about how this man is jumping from different universes and different characters, and nobody really is bothered by this, because Oscar Isaac, I think, is the only one that can get away with it. Only Moon Knight can
Yes.
play different versions of Moon Knight, different characters of Moon Knight, and he can also play a version of Spider-Man. Like, Oscar, keep making more movies. And subscribe to our podcast.
We love you. We are very envious of your career. You've done every cool thing there. You know that you can do. He did Star Wars. He did Moon Knight. He's done this. He did an X-Men movie that we forgot about and won't talk about. But hey, he's in everything.
Yeah, but his character, I also really liked Hobie. He didn't get as much screen time, but it was so cool to see this punk rock character as Spider-Man, who's like kind of he's a weird, very elusive figure, because on the one hand, he's like, I'm a hero, but on the other hand, I don't like the title hero, because blah 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 blah. And so he's like, oh, but you're in this clique. He's like, I'm in it ironically.
Yeah.
But then he's also like, for the record, I quit. But he also helps Miles escape, and it's just, and then to find out it was Daniel Kaluuya playing him just made me really, really love that character so much more. Um, I hope we get to see him more in the sequel. Speaking of sequels and prequels, I loved seeing I don't know if it was Marshala Ali who played Prowler in this second one, but
Yeah, it was.
it was, oh, thank
Yeah.
goodness, because he played him in the first one, and I just love Marshala Ali. Um, and so to see that again, he's not on the top five, but he's like, in there just because it's Marshall Ali, man. But him, and of course the Indian Spider-Man, whose name I don't remember. I was just so enamored by the fact that there was a Spider-Man that looked like me.
Yeah.
Um, I also really liked the Andy Samberg Spider-Man, but you know, Spider Gwen, is it Spider Woman or Spider Gwen, whichever character she is. I really liked her because they made her look like such a badass.
Yeah, and I like her costume so cool, her world looks so cool. That was like some of my favorite parts was just between her and her dad. God, the end of that movie was just breathtaking
Mm.
when they're having that conversation back in the apartment. I just cannot wait to see this movie again because it's just so beautiful to look at, and the animation is just so unique. But before we do get into our final rankings, we do have to talk about the cliffhanger. And this is the second time me and you have talked about a cliffhanger in the past 2 weeks. One movie did it horribly in Fast and the Furious 10. This time, I think they 100% earned that cliffhanger where Miles goes to Universe 42, which is the universe where the spider that bit him is from. You find out that there's no Spider-Man in this universe because the spider that was supposed to bite Peter Parker went to Miles, and the Miles in this universe is now the Prowler. His uncle Aaron is his accomplice, and his father is dead. So that was this is like the Empire Strikes Back of animated movies. It is so good. I love this cliffhanger, and it really reminded me of like a comic book. Like you turn to the last page and it says "To be continued." It was fantastic.
Oh my god, yes. So the entire movie, bright lights, colors, funny jokes, excitement, the typical Spider-Man, banter, and then darkness. And then you're just sitting there awestruck. Like, oh shit, what's going on now? And then fucking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just where did this come from? The end. No, the end. Post credit scene. No post credit scene.
Nope.
You got to just wait another 5 years, and
Well,
I'm
not even that long.
5, 10 years for this other movie. Just
No, March on it. It comes out in March.
oh, thank God.
Yeah.
I was like, just do whatever it is you needed to do to make it just as perfect. But if it's coming back out in March, can March hurry up already?
Yeah, I'm happy we're not going to wait 5 years again, but wow, like, and I didn't even pick up on it because he shows up and then his mom says, "Oh, you changed your hair." And I didn't pick it up then. And then his uncle was like, "What happened to your braids?" And I was like, "Oh shit. He's
Yeah.
in another universe."
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that either. It wasn't until they were like, "Oh, he's in the wrong universe," and you just kind of see the subtle, like, "Hey, where are we going?" And it's not until he gets knocked in the back of the head that you're like, "Something's wrong." And just the fact that it's him looking at himself, and he says, "You can let me go." He says, "Why would I do that?" That's yourself, though. Why wouldn't you free yourself? But then you
Oh,
also see the electricity crackling through his fingers. Like, he's not going down without a fight.
That's just going to be such a cool dynamic in the next movie where it's Miles versus Miles. I cannot wait. Like it's already my most anticipated movie of next year, and we're not even done with this year yet. So, wow, what an ending. What a movie too, Ahmed. Let's get into our rankings. Where would you put this on the box office QB scale?
I mean, can we create a new one, like higher than Hall of Fame?
That's what I wanted to do too.
Okay,
Yeah.
like because that's all I want to do. I don't think we've ever done that in this history, and but I don't think we've ever had a movie like this in our history. So it's deserved.
It's
I
the
mean,
GOAT, the greatest of all time.
is that what we're gonna call it now?
We might.
Okay,
We
well,
might. I
actually,
just made it up on the spot.
you agree?
Approved.
Approved.
Approved. Yes.
Thanks, bro. Love you. Yeah, it's the goat. And they're gonna. I saw it recently that they're gonna make another Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland and Zendaya, and they do talk about. Miguel talks about Tom Holland's Spider-Man, saying, "Don't even get me started on that little nerd in that universe." So it'll be really amazing to see how all these universes tie together.
I am scared about that. Like, I don't know if like the live action universe just looks so bad compared to this movie.
Yeah,
And whoever plays Miles is going to have big shoes to fill because Shamik Moore is so good as Miles as just a voice actor, but I'm sure he does motion cap and whatever too. But he's perfect, and the Miles in these two movies is just like the best Spider-Man we've had, I think, on screen. Like, and I love Toby, Andrew, and Tom. So
yeah.
we'll see how they tie it together. I just hope it's not like I did like the live action parts of this movie, but I don't think I really want to see more of it in the next movie.
That's fair. I think it would like let it stay in its own lane, respectfully, but in whatever they have to do to kind of make it all kind of make sense for the viewers, do their thing. I mean, in the meantime, Spider-Man is my favorite superhero of the Marvel, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe has only made him a more of a favorite, but I'm also the worst Spider-Man fan because this is all I've got for Spider-Man. I don't have a Spider-Man t-shirt like I should. I don't have as many posters as I should, but with time. But Spider-Man is like make as many friggin' Spider-Man movies as you want. This isn't one of those Batman things or Superman where you can, you know, tell his story too many times. Um, I just hope that they do it justice. They continue to do it justice, rather.
Yeah, and if you do like expand it, like I think I would like to see Oscar Isaac as Miguel O'Hara in live action. I think that's a movie I would like to see.
Dude,
Just
yeah,
because he like already looks exactly like his animated counterpart. And I think like a futuristic world, was it they call it Nueva York? I think that would look just really cool on screen. So that's where I would go. I am going to give this the goat as well because this is my favorite and like I think this is my favorite superhero movie of all time. And like I felt so mesmerized watching this movie in a way that I haven't felt in a long time in the movie theaters where I couldn't even take my eyes off the screen.
yeah.
So like keep doing what you're doing, Sony, when it comes to these movies. When it comes to Morbius and Craven the Hunter and all that stuff, you got some work to do. But your animated stuff is really standing out. I think this movie could potentially be nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars next year. I know it's already probably going to win Best Animated Movie. There's nothing but praise here. I could go on for like 30 more minutes on how much I love this movie. But is there anything else, Ahmed, that you want to add before we get out of here?
I just want people to know it's not just us that are giving this movie such high praise. Tom Holland, who is arguably the best Peter Parker Spider Man character they could have picked. No offense to Andrew Garfield, no offense to Tobey Maguire, but Tom Holland, I think, is the best person to play Spider Man, Peter Parker Spider Man. And even he agreed this is the best Spider-Man movie ever. So if Tom Holland, who even Stan Lee, rest in peace, said is exactly who he, visualized to play Spider-Man, is saying high praise for this movie, give it a watch. I know I
Yeah.
want to watch it again. I'm just trying to figure out when I can, go again. Make sure I can, because I've already got like The Flash has come in, all the other movies, but I'm kind of considering just skipping all those movies just so I can watch Spider-Man again.
Yeah, if I had to pick, it's like, hey, do you want to see The Flash or do you want to see this movie again? I'm like, I think I want to see this movie again because there's
Yeah,
still so much you can pick up on.
yeah,
There's so many Easter eggs, so many references. This movie is fantastic. This is potentially the best movie we've ever talked about. So go see it. Go see it 50 more times so we get more of them. But this has been another edition of Box Office Quarterbacks. I'm Jeff. That's Ahmed. That's Scratchy. And that
Raja.
is Raja. And we are a Box Office QB's family. And we will see you guys very soon. Probably for The Flash. Probably for Barbie. Talk to you guys later.